Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
He is currently in hiding. He's received death threats and intense criticism. He is the police chief of Uvalde ISD, Pete Arredondo.
And now we are hearing his account of what happened that day at Robb Elementary when a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers. Arredondo spoke in an exclusive interview with the Texas Tribune. He talked with the Tribune by phone, also provided some written answers and responses through his own attorney. In today's KSAT Q&A, we are happy to welcome James Barragan, one of the Texas Tribune reporters who worked on that very piece. James, thank you so much for being with us to really talk about some of the incredibly eye-opening things that you all uncovered in this interview. 2 things that I want to ask about right off the top here. One of them being that Chief Arredondo said he did not know he was the incident commander on scene during that response, and also didn't have his radios on him, so no way to communicate with other law enforcement that were also there responding. What's his explanation for those 2 things?
Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, you point out 2 of the biggest criticisms that there have been so far. Him as the incident commander, basically telling other law enforcement officers not to go in, and then the lack of a radio, which complicates the communication not only inside the hallway where officers are waiting to engage the gunman, but also with the rest of the law enforcement agencies who have swarmed to try to help out in this incident. But what he told us in his first public comments since the shooting, and really the first public comments from any law enforcement official other than Texas DPS, he said he never thought of himself as the incident commander, and nobody told him he was the incident commander. He never claimed to be the incident commander, and he was adamant that he never issued an order to other officers not to breach the classroom. I'll get into that a little bit more, but the other thing is that he said, and he willingly concedes and acknowledges that he did drop his police radios. He said when he got there, he thought he was the first police officer on the scene. He wanted to be as quick as possible in engaging the gunman. And so he dropped his radios because he wanted to have both of his hands on his gun so that if he confronted the gunman, he could have a quick and accurate shot should he run into the gunman.
You talked to him on the phone, James, and what did you get a sense of his emotions? Did you get a sense of his feelings about this whole thing? I mean, like I said, this is a guy who gave the first 2 briefings the night of the shooting. Very short, not a lot of information in those briefings, but we haven't really seen or heard from him since then. I mean, obviously he has a sense of just what a center point of this criticism he's become.
Yeah, and you know that tracks that the first law enforcement briefings from him were short, did not have a whole lot of information. What he told us is basically that he hasn't wanted to make public comments because he doesn't want to add to the confusion, right? And he doesn't want to increase the pain or add to the grief that the families of these victims, the families of these survivors, all the people down there in Uvalde are going through right now. You have to remember that he is a member of this community. He grew up there. He went to Robb Elementary. He spent the first 16 years of his career as a police officer at the Uvalde Police Department. So he is very, very close to this tragedy. One of his family by marriage, one of the teachers who died was married to his second cousin. And then the other teacher who was killed by the gunman, Eva Morales, was married to a Uvalde School District police officer. It's very close. And so he recognizes that he has become a part of the story. He recognizes that there is a lot of scrutiny and criticism of it. And he wanted to put out there his version of events, how he remembers it, so that people can get some context for why he made the decisions that he made.
And a huge part of this story is the length of time that it took officers to eventually confront the gunman. 77 minutes. We know that a locked door was a big part of that. What's his explanation for what was going on during that time and the reason why it took so long?
Yeah, well, I want to clarify some points. The 77 minutes is actually how long the entire shooting took. I think from the point that officers are in the hallway to when they finally confront the gunman, are able to get inside the classroom and shoot him, I think it is more than an hour, but that's not the full 77 minutes. But I think that's another one of the new details that came out in this interview through Arredondo's perspective. He said that he had tried to unlock the door to one of the classrooms where the gunman was. He tried to open it, but when he tried to do that, he found that it was locked, and that complicated the law enforcement response. Usually schools have these doors that are designed so that it's difficult for someone from the outside to get inside, and that's precisely because of these like active shooter incidents. You don't want the shooter to be able to get in from the outside, and so people on the inside are very secure. However, when the gunman ended up inside, that made the law enforcement response so much more complicated, because now it's the police that cannot get inside, and they did not know if they had more victims inside or potential victims, if there was anybody that was still alive inside the room, because the lights were off, another practice from the lockdown drills. And that is sort of what caused the hesitation to go into the room. They couldn't get in there. Arredondo says he called for extraction tools or keys, and those took a long time getting there. But when they finally got the keys, he said they were able to go in. He also says that, while they were waiting for the keys, it's not like they were standing around doing nothing. They made a call to evacuate the students in the classrooms next to where the gunman was, to try to prevent any more lives from being endangered.
And James, I want to point out, because there are a lot of people who are going to be upset by this whole thing and think that no matter what you say, this guy's not going to be able to say anything right in this situation. And I want to point out, in your article, you talked to other members of law enforcement, some who were very critical of the chief's actions, correct?
Right. And everybody has to remember that this is his account. So I think it's fair for people, your viewers and our readers, to take it with a grain of salt. This is how he remembers it. And he obviously knows that he's become a center of attention here. But there were things from the reporting that rang true, that sort of tracked with the timeline that has been put out there. But of course, there is criticism from law enforcement experts. Him rushing in there without a radio is one of the main criticisms. Folks said that should never have happened. Him not taking command of the incident, they said that caused and added to the chaotic response. And so he will still have to answer more questions. There's no doubt about that. But I think from his perspective, he's trying to show people what his why he did the things he did. And he says he's very proud of the law enforcement response, and they did the best that they could under the situation.
James, we've run out of time here, but before we let you go, I'm just curious if in a couple of words you could describe his demeanor, his tone. How would you characterize this interview?
The response that his lawyer told us when we asked about that is that he was devastated. And that's the one-word response. He was devastated.
James Barragan with the Texas Tribune, thank you so much. And obviously you can read this full article on the Texas Tribune website as well as KSAT.com. Thank you for your time today, James.
Meantime, there are funeral services happening for Eva Mireles. She is one of two teachers who was shot and killed at Robb Elementary that day. She was known for her love of the outdoors, her love of CrossFit, and somebody who died trying to save children inside of that school.
The funeral services will be held tomorrow as well for Alexandria Rubio. Family and friends say Lexi was athletic and compassionate, and she wanted to attend St. Mary's University to play softball and attend law school. Remember their names.
Uvalde CISD says no students will ever walk into Robb Elementary School again for class, and the building will eventually be replaced with something long-lasting. The question now is what that is.
Yeah, the school campus now just a sad reminder of the tragedy, and the people of Uvalde have some ideas to help the community move forward.
And they shared some of those with our Camelia Juarez.
Several people we spoke to in Uvalde say removing the building altogether would be the best interest of the mourning community. Maria Garcia says its presence only brings sadness to those passing by.
Just a reminder for the families of the victims that passed away. As far as what to put on there, I don't know. I just know that I know the families are, still grieving.
For others, tearing down the building would be expensive and pointless. Federico Salmanca says even the location is haunting.
Tearing it down is kind of extreme, I think, because it's unless they're going to build a new school there, which I don't see if that accomplishes anything. It's still the same location.
Regardless, most people in Uvalde agree it should be transformed into something that heals the community.
I just hope our community can come together and figure out how to move forward and make it a better place than it was before.
Now, Uvalde CISD says that they will take community input. However, it's unclear how or when they will get that input. But for now, it remains a memorial, a place for people to remember the students and teachers who lost their lives here. Live in Uvalde, Camelia Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Camelia. All right, let's take a look outside traffic right now. I-37 in Carolina, just south of the Alamo Dome as you look north, and you can see traffic very smooth on this Friday evening. The weekend.
AC cranking in those cars out there, I hope. 101 degrees right now. Was that as high as the temperature got today, Adam?
So far, sometimes we get a quick little bump briefly during the hour and it can change the official high. But so far today, 101, that's the high temperature, and that's a record by 1 degree. And that's a long-standing record of 100, set back in 1917. You look elsewhere across KSAT 12 viewing area, and in the hundreds for the most part. A few degrees shy of it in the hill country, but Cotulla, Pleasanton, 105 for high temperatures. And then you factor in the humidity, and for a brief time there in Pleasanton, felt like 107, 108. We're going to take a look at those heat index values in just a bit. Right now, an even 100 officially at the airport. By 8 o'clock, 97, 10 o'clock, 88. So gradually we'll get down into the 80s, then even 70s by tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about the weekend heat, how hot and where, how the humidity is going to play a role, and the arrival of the African dust coming right up.
KSAT 12 celebrates Military City, USA, powered by USAA.
San Antonio has been called Military City USA for decades, and now we're showing you why we're at the heart of military training for our troops. For many enlisting in the United States Air Force, their basic military training starts here at Joint Base San Antonio Lackland, better known as the gateway to the Air Force.
They step on drill as soon as they step off the bus. And in the 5th week, by the end of the 3rd week of training, they should be pretty proficient with drill movements. But we continue those. We want to sharpen those skills. We want to get that precision, that sharpness, so that we look good in our drill movements and what we do every day.
The new recruits will go through 8 weeks of training to learn important skills needed to become an airman.
So drill is a really important aspect of basic training. What they want to learn here is the discipline that it instills in them, being able to move from point A to point B. Also, being able to move from that point A to point B together as one unit, one team. Before you come into the military, you're civilian, you're worried about yourself at home. You only have you to watch out for. But when you come here, it's a teamwork aspect. You have to consider everybody else in this team and be able to come together and work together as one unity in order to get the mission done.
Let's take a look outside with Sky 12. Check this out. The corn maze out at Traders Village on the southwest side of town. I don't see anyone trying to make their way out of this.
Yeah, I think pretty soon this is going to become popcorn. It's so hot out there.
Probably already
that was pretty funny.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate the laughs. All right, what did you say? Only good one?
Finally a good one.
Finally a good one. Well, they're not all gems. I mean, there's a kernel of truth in that popcorn joke.
Okay, let's go now.
It was good, and then
I know. Well,
you went there.
He egged me on.
It's the weekend.
Yes, it is.
The weekend is here.
It is
Friday.
so. All right, how warm will it be this weekend is the question.
Dun, dun, dun. 104 Saturday and Sunday. That's what we're expecting. Yeah, we're going to feel the heat. Find the nearest splash pad, body of water, whatever it is to help you cool off, or as I often suggest, the refrigerated aisles at the grocery store. Preferably the brisket, dino rib, spare rib, and baby back rib aisle at H-E-B.
If I go to H-E-B this weekend and there are a bunch of people standing
just
in the
hanging
way
out,
of me and brisket,
yeah,
looking at brisket,
looking at brisket and ribs. Kasky told me to be here.
Hey, at least they'll be comfortable. Got that. You're welcome, everybody. All right, satellite and radar shows the big blue H, the upper level high, planted just off to the northwest of us, but still significantly influencing our weather. It is going to move around a little bit in the days to come, and that's really going to keep the heat on through the weekend. However, notice as we get into next week, that upper level high moves closer to the east coast, and that's where it parks itself for a few days. In turn, we do think that we'll trim off a few degrees from our triple digits. So we'll go from about 104 this weekend into the upper 90s for the early part of next week by Tuesday because of that upper level high shifting eastward a bit. Also, I want to point this out. The African dust, or technically called the Saharan air layer, that's headed our way. Right now, the dust is over the southern Gulf and into the Caribbean, but by Sunday, we'll start to notice that little extra haze in the air as a result of the dust. And then it does look like the models are indicating more dense dust, moderate density, I should say, of dust to move overhead. So if you do have a sensitive respiratory system and you particularly notice some effects from that African dust, keep in mind particularly Monday and especially Tuesday, but there will be some out there starting Sunday. So starting Sunday, but a little more dense Monday, Tuesday, that it does look like it's just going to keep coming throughout the week next week, and we'll continue to have it at various levels, various degrees of density. So something that's going to be around, and if you're not affected by it, you'll just notice the extra hazy sunrises and sunsets. Right now, a little bit of haze out there, 100 degrees, triple digits even. Feels like 102 when you factor in the humidity. So let's talk temperatures and feels like the heat indices. Right now, just about triple digits almost everywhere. I mean, 102 Stinson, down to 95 Bernie Stage. That's typically one of the cooler locations. Bulverde 98, 99 in Rio Medina, Bandera 100 degrees, up to 105 now, Cotulla 102 in Del Rio. When you factor in the humidity, this is the feels like temperature. Pleasanton now, heat index of 106, Gonzales 105. Temperatures aren't as high along the Gulf Coast, but the humidity is higher than here. So Victoria actually feels like 103 along with Kennedy. Going forward, tomorrow, air temperature of about 104. That's what we're expecting in the afternoon. And when you factor in the humidity, it could feel as warm as 107 to 108. That's why we have the heat advisory in effect this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, mainly for the afternoon hours because those heat indices could get up there to about 108. Tomorrow morning, mid-70s to start the day. By the afternoon, back above 100, even in the hill country, a little over 100. Closer to the Rio Grande, about 106, 107. Carrizo Springs, 107. Del Rio, 106. Bottom line, we're feeling the heat. 105 downtown tomorrow. Lavernia, Seguin, 104. Record challenging heat tomorrow. By Sunday, we should be a little shy of the record, but we'll have a better breeze out of the south at 10 to 20 miles per hour.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah, no.
In
here I am. In
okay.
The AC.
Yeah. I thought maybe you wanted to take the corn maze again at Trader's Village.
No.
Okay.
Hoping your jokes will get butter.
Enough corny puns, okay?
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
From somewhere off in the distance.
Yeah. Do you have more jokes, more corn jokes? I'm all ears.
Oh, jeez.
Okay,
you
so
cannot beat this man. I'm telling you.
So. Baseball. Let's talk about baseball.
I'm just gonna
let's
take
move it. Let's move on, Larry.
Yes, let's
you
just
take
this
it
away. So Reagan is in the 6A state semifinals tonight. Coming up, Chapman, the Rattlers head coach, talks about what he did to try to keep his kids' nerves a little under control. Plus, in the NFL, Raiders safety Trayvon Merrick is looking to take some big steps this season. Coming up.
The fact that you know everyone's behind you pushing, even if they're not at the game, you know everyone's online watching you at the game. It just feels really good.
And that fan support will be on full display tonight for Tegan Peoples and the Reagan Rattlers in Big Board Sports. Reagan baseball will take on Rockwall Heath in the Class 6A state semifinals tonight. It's win or go home. The Rattlers are 9-1 this postseason, losing to Lake Travis in Game 2 of the 6A regional finals. Reagan beat them in Game 3 to win the series 2-1 to advance to the state tournament in Round Rock. Yesterday at Reagan High School, family and friends sent the Rattlers off in style. That's where head coach Chance Chapman told the media he's taking the team to Dale Diamond last night to try to help his guys out before facing the defending state champs.
We're going to actually go to Dale Diamond and watch some of the 7 o'clock game, kind of get some of the newness off where, a lot of these kids haven't seen Dale Diamond before. So, then go sit and watch. And, when we do that, it like I said, it takes the newness away and the awe factor. They're going to get to go sit there for an hour, look at the park. And, I don't want them, when we get there tomorrow, I don't want them worried about any of that. It's all about, trying to beat Rockwall.
Reagan and Rockwall Heath will play ball tonight at 7 at Dale Diamond in Round Rock, and KSAT 12 Sports will be there. For the first time since 2019, the D'Hanis community is celebrating a baseball and softball state championship. The Cowboys defeated Nazareth in the UIL Class 1A state title game on Thursday morning to claim the program's third championship. Senior pitcher Ryan Hendry was named most valuable player. He threw a 3-hit shutout, striking out 6. After the game, D'Hanis head coach Todd Kraft talked about Hendry's journey to starting in the state championship.
He hadn't, up until a couple years ago, ever been like a full-time pitcher. He'd been a guy that pitched a little bit here and there. And when he came to us, he became a full-time pitcher. And so there was a learning curve that took place there, learning how to be like a guy, not just, come in, throw an inning every once in a while. And so it was a process that took a couple of years, and he pretty much showcased himself right there. You can't draw it up any better than that. I think I asked what his pitch count was going into the 6th. I think he was like at 50 pitches through 5 innings or something like that, some ridiculously low number. So he was just amazing. That's all you can say about that performance.
Hendry finished the season with a 7-0 record as a starter.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
The Las Vegas Raiders wrapped up a mandatory 3-day minicamp yesterday under first-year head coach Josh McDaniels. Second-year safety Trayvon Merrick is looking to build off a solid rookie campaign of 55 total tackles, 1 interception, and 6 passes defensed. The Smithson Valley alum was asked what is he trying to improve on this season.
Just, footwork, really. Just improving my footwork, improving my hands, and then, just conditioning, just trying to stay at the top of my conditioning peak as I can, and then just come in every day, lift weights, try to get stronger, and then just the mental side of it, just trying to learn the game.
Merrick, a second-round pick from TCU, started all 17 games for the Raiders last season as a rookie. Game 4 of the NBA Finals between Golden State and Boston is 8 o'clock tonight here on KSAT 12. Warriors' Steph Curry, who's dealing with a left leg injury, will play and says he will not be limited. Highlights on the Night Beat.
Do you think this is a must-win game for the Warriors?
I think it is indeed, yes.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
We'll be right back.
Last night, the House committee trying to get to the bottom of what happened on January 6th, the insurrection there, held their first public hearing in prime time, 2 hours, heavily produced. John Taylor is the political science and geography chair at UTSA. He joins us now. Last night we talked to him about what was happening in Uvalde and some of those hearings. Let's talk about what you heard last night. Your initial reactions to what you saw.
It was fascinating to watch, almost political theater in some regards. I mean, some have said it's like Watergate, or somewhere like back in 1972 and 73 and 74. Not the same thing. You're talking about in the 70s with Watergate, a break into the Democratic National Committee, a cover up. This is nothing like that. As the chair of the committee last night said, this was an attempted coup d'etat, in his words, by a sitting president of the United States. Those are incredible words to say. Particularly for our country's politics.
What do you think, or can you explain what you believe the committee's end goal is here? Because this is certainly, like you said, something that we've never seen before, something like this produced in prime time. We know that there are a handful of more hearings scheduled. So what's the end goal for this committee?
Well, the end goal ultimately is to get to the bottom of what happened. Was there a conspiracy? How much of a conspiracy? How far did it go up? Did it go all the way up to Donald Trump? Where there's smoke, there's fire. It suggests maybe there was. That the whole thing about a so-called stolen election, even Trump's inner circle. the committee is going to be recommending potentially, if we're talking about having suggest a conspiracy that suggests criminal activity, you could easily see indictments and potentially all the way up to Donald Trump. On the other side, Republicans would argue, no, this is a witch hunt, and that turnabout's going to be fair play going to 23 if we take over. That the Democrats are doing this because it's a way to take away from issues related to inflation, to crime, to concerns about high oil prices, those sort of things. And so both sides are already crafting their message. The issue is, did anybody listen last night?
Do you get a sense of that? Because obviously you have Ivanka Trump, like you said, on camera under oath saying her father did not win the election. And you have, the most powerful part for me were the tapes of the riot itself and some video that we had not seen before, along with the testimony of the officers who were under attack by their fellow Americans in this whole thing. Do you think there's some reverberations that are happening because of this?
I would say yes. I jokingly said to y'all, and I'll say it on the air now, it's going to be rather an easy Thanksgiving at the Trump family at Mar-a-Lago.
At the very least.
At the very least. And you have, you had President Trump this morning, actually, or last night, essentially discounting what his daughter said, attacking his former attorney general. It's just beyond what we would normally talk about in political science, to say the least, at least in the United States. And this is why it's so concerning. Did people really get an idea of what happened? From what the video shows, from the stuff that's been not shown before, from the testimony that has not been released before, it's disconcerting as to the stability of our democracy going forward.
Who's the audience for this? Because I don't think you're going to change a lot of minds on the far right or the far left. Was it for middle America? Is that who this presentation last night was aimed at?
I'd argue that it's aimed at those people that may have, in fact, voted for Donald Trump, but feel uncomfortable about what happened. Also, those people that may have voted for Joe Biden, but are not necessarily strongly committed and are very concerned about the country. In other words, what we kind of jokingly refer to as the mushy middle. That they're those swing voters, those not necessarily independent voters, but those voters that are concerned, that are going to potentially change their mind. We know about maybe 30% or so of Americans are convinced that the election was stolen, that that Trump is actually the legitimate president. You get about 40 to 45% who are basically like, no, well, that wasn't the case at all. Then you got a percentage that are like, they're not quite so certain. Sell me on inform me and let me make up my own mind.
You certainly, as a political scientist, you study politics, but also the history of politics. And I'm just curious what your take is on the implications this could have for our entire political system, but also for former President Trump, because there are certainly people hoping that he may run in 2024. Obviously, if this gets to the point that you mentioned, potentially indictments, things of that nature, that's a different conversation. But what do you think is this, excuse me, were there enough evidence presented last night to really have an impact on any potential support for the former president?
I'd say maybe a little bit. Let's see what the rest of the hearings. I know we have about 8 or 9 more of them or so scheduled. Let's see what other evidence comes out. That said, Trump has already claimed that this committee, as well as Republicans, have claimed that this committee is designed to prevent Trump from running in 24. He's been waving for now 2+ years the whole thing about a stolen election. If we're talking about legacy, if we're talking about history, there is nothing like this in the sense of this kind of attempt at, to be blunt, subverting an election outcome. I cannot, at least in our history, now history of other countries is a different matter. In our history, there's been nothing like this. The only thing that might even come close was 1876, Tilden versus Hayes. And in that case, yes, there were contested electors, but you didn't have riots in the streets and you didn't have an attack on the Capitol.
Yeah, it was certainly a not so peaceful transfer of power, that's for sure. John Taylor, political science professor at UTSA. Always appreciate your time, John.
Pleasure.
We'll be right back.
With a stretch of triple-digit temperatures in the days ahead, the city's issued an extreme heat warning. That means this weekend, it's all about staying cool. Garrett Berger brings you tips on what you need to know.
You don't need us to tell you, but it's a bit warm out.
Hot. Blazing hot. Hot. Real hot.
But how are you going to deal with it? The great indoors is a great solution, so long as you've got air conditioning at home. If not, try one of the city or county's cooling centers, or even a big box store. And do not forget to drink water. A lot of it.
The 64-ounce jug I got, you think that might be enough, right? Metro Health says, double it.
You need to drink about a gallon of water a day. If you're already thirsty, you're dehydrated.
Splash pads and pools are great too. Just ask your kids.
I think it's really, really hot, and you can go to the pool almost every day.
But heads up, less than half of the city's outdoor pools are open so far for weekends. And even then, just in the afternoon. There are even fewer open on weekdays. If you're outside, make sure to lather on sunscreen so you don't burn, and watch for heat-related illness. Heat exhaustion has symptoms like lots of sweating, headaches, cold, clammy skin, nausea, dizziness, and fainting. You can treat that by getting someplace cool and slowly sipping water. But get medical help if you throw up, or if symptoms keep up or get worse. Heat stroke has some similar symptoms, but also a high body temperature, hot, red, dry, or damp skin, confusion, even passing out. For that, you need to call 911 ASAP. But if you follow the tips, you should be able to stay cool and stay safe. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
The city and county both have cooling centers open. For a list, you can find this story on KSAT.com.
These kids were having fun.
Yeah, they were.
Have a lot of company out there this weekend. It's all about staying cool any way you can, Adam.
Yeah, it is. And, do what you can to, of course, stay hydrated and stay in the shade. And we will have a bit of a breeze to help us out, but I think a better breeze on Sunday opposed to tomorrow. We did it today. So far, 101, the high temperature. That would be a record by 1 degree. Record long-standing since 1917, and triple digits across most of the KSAT 12 viewing area. The exception is the Hill Country, where we were just a few degrees shy of 100, but Del Rio 103, 101 Hondo, up to 105 for the high in Pleasanton. As we go through the evening hours, right now, we're still triple digits, officially at the airport 100. By 10 o'clock, down into the upper 80s, and then tomorrow morning we'll start the day in the 70s. We'll talk about the heat, humidity, and how hot it's going to feel even into the upcoming weekend in just a bit.
It looks like NASA's Perseverance has a new friend to travel across Mars with, want it or not. The rover picked up a rock 4 months ago, and the two have been inseparable ever since. NASA says it appears the rock found its way into the rover's left front wheel in February. It's traveled nearly 5.5 miles across the rugged terrain since then.
It hasn't slipped out of there somehow. Right now, Perseverance is focused on drilling cores and examining sedimentary rock around the delta area of Mars, which NASA says were created billions of years ago when there was water in the area. Perseverance pet rock is not hurting those operations. There's no telling how long the rover's new friend will stick around. By the way, this isn't the first Mars rover to adopt a pet rock. Both Spirit and Curiosity picked up rocks in their explorations as well.
It's the thing to do on Mars.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the rock already has a Twitter account.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Or somebody's going to sell, replicas.
Yeah, replicas.
Of Mars rocks. Yeah.
Just the mere fact that we know there's a rock stuck on the interior of a tire or wheel on Mars.
Yeah. It's amazing technology.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super smart people out there is what it is. All right, weather headlines. Heat advisory all weekend. It's another way of saying it's going to be hot, but also dangerously hot. Record challenging heat. We expect to tie the record tomorrow and maybe be 1 degree shy of it on Sunday. And the Saharan dust, the African dust, it arrives again on Sunday. We talked about that earlier in the newscast. We'll probably have a little extra haze on Sunday, but then Monday and especially Tuesday, it's going to get a little bit thicker. So if you're susceptible to that African dust and you have a sensitive respiratory system, just keep that in mind for early next week. Okay, the count now is at 10 100-degree days so far this year. That is the most on record that we've had before June 10th, or even by June 10th. But as for a given year, completely 59, that's the highest count total. 59, that was back in 2009. Second place was 57. That was 2011. Third place, 41, set back in 2013. Right now, we're at 10, and we're going to add to it this weekend. 104 both Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, up to 101 for the high temperature, and that would tie the record for the day, by the way. And it does look like we'll just trim back a little bit and drop down into the upper 90s by Tuesday through pretty much most of next week. Tuesday through Friday, about 99 for the high temperature. You're not going to feel much of a difference compared to Monday. It's more of that psychological boost, but it will be a difference compared to what we have this weekend. So let's talk about it. Right now, the Big Blue H upper level high, the center of it's a little farther to the west of us, but it's still significantly influencing our weather. The key is into next week, that's when it goes eastward. Over the weekend, it's still really pressing on us, but then it alleviates that pressure a little bit by the middle part of next week. In turn, we trimmed back those high temperatures a little bit back into the upper 90s. Right now, still at 100. Factor in the humidity, it feels like 102. So tack on about 2 degrees to the afternoon temperature, and that's what it's going to feel like pretty much throughout the entire weekend. Right now, mostly in the triple digits, the exception parts of the hill country. Rock Springs 95, Fredericksburg and Kerrville 97 degrees, Rio Medina 99, but 103 in Devine, New Braunfels 101. Tomorrow morning, we start the day for the most part in the mid 70s, so just more of the same, but I don't anticipate a lot of that morning cloud cover that usually greets us around sunrise and a few hours thereafter. Just mostly sunny throughout the entire day. By the afternoon, we're back above 100, 104 Rio Medina and Hondo, Sabinal up to 105, Seguin 104, and we're thinking officially in San Antonio 104, but some parts of town could be a degree or so warmer. Now, when you factor in the humidity, we could see heat indices, the feels like temperature, as high as 107 to 108. Saturday and Sunday afternoons. So for about a 4 or 5 hour stretch, we run the risk of those heat index values as high as 108 degrees, and that's one reason why we have the heat advisory that's in effect for the entire weekend. But tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at just over 100 pretty much everywhere. You get to the Rio Grande, 106, along with Cotulla, Carrizo Springs 107, cranking up the heat, Stone Oak 103, and then pretty much a carbon copy as we go into Sunday. No big changes there. African dust comes in Sunday, gets a little thicker Monday and Tuesday, and it does look like it's going to linger around to a different degree, varying degrees throughout all of next week. So that's something you'll notice with a little extra haze in the sky. Temperatures, they don't change a whole lot, but that 5-degree difference is a bit noticeable when you're talking the difference between 104 and 99, right? Not just a psychological boost, but it helps a little bit.
All right. Thank you, Adam.
104. In case you missed it, coming up next. Here's today's ICYMI.
It is Friday. It is June 10th.
I didn't issue any orders. Those are the words from Uvalde CISD Police Chief Pete Arredondo, according to a report by the Texas Tribune. According to Arredondo, he never considered himself the incident commander, and he thought someone else had taken control of the larger response. Arredondo also told the Tribune he never told police not to breach the building. Many have wondered why Arredondo didn't have a radio with him to communicate with other responding agencies. He now says he chose to leave it behind because he wanted both hands free to hold his gun.
Not far from the bright lights of DO Sports Bar and Grill, someone attacked in a dark section of the parking lot. San Antonio police say one victim was knocked unconscious while another was stabbed around 2 this morning. The man who was stabbed died. Police believe the 2 victims may have been set up.
Baby Holly, the 1-year-old child who disappeared all the way back in 1981 after her parents were found dead in the Houston area. Well, authorities say that she has been found alive and well. The victims' families, of course, started searching for Holly, and she was recently located in Oklahoma with a family. She is now 42 years old and has reconnected with her biological family. NASA is now assembling a team to study UFO activity. The agency wants to know more about the phenomenon that can't be identified as aircraft or any unknown natural phenomena in the skies or in the atmosphere.
This Sunday, take a trip back into time to 1972. Popeyes is celebrating 50 years, selling 2 pieces of its bone-in chicken for just 59 cents, the same price it sold it for when it opened. The week-long deal starts June 12th.
Usually by the time we talk about it, the national day is almost over, but we are right on time with this one. Tonight is National Movie Night. First one ever, a day or night to encourage people to put away the cell phones and enjoy a classic or something new with friends and family.
There's just as many ways to watch a movie as there are genres to watch. No shortage of options. National Movie Night, by the way, created by a mother-daughter writing team at Family Movie Night Journal. The Register at National Day Calendar proclaimed the first National Movie Night in 2022 to be observed the second Friday in June and every year from here on out.
Mark your calendar.
Yeah, at least it's fairly cool watching a movie usually. There you have that.
Seasonal.
It is, right? It's a good time to do that. And across the state, we're all feeling the heat. Upper 90s to low 100s pretty much everywhere. Even hotter this weekend. You know, we broke a record, I should say, today by 1 degree. We'll be up to 104 this weekend, feeling like it's 107 to 108 at times.
Ooh, stay cool out there. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you on the Night Beat after the game.